What's up guys, welcome back to Demystifying History, your portal to the past and bridge to the future. Business corporations, some old and some not so old, have created history in their respective fields. Their story from inception through growth and a view of how they positively impacted the world is a must-learn lesson for all of us. Today we walk through one such corporation that is not so old but has established itself as the most valuable company in the world. A company that has touched us and changed our lives in more ways than one. I am, of course, talking about the eye in all our devices, Apple Inc. We all know Apple for their great products and innovation, but very few of us actually know how this colossal technology supergiant was formed. Well, it's been just 44 years since Apple was founded on the 1st of April 1976. The three initial founders were Steve Jobs, Steve Wozniak, and Ronald Wayne. They came together with an objective to make computers small enough so that people could use them in their homes and offices. Apple was first incorporated out of Steve Jobs' home garage in Cupertino, California. Unfortunately, Ronald Wayne's time with the company was limited. He left after just 12 days of founding, selling his entire share in the company for a measly $800, which, if he had held on to, would be worth around $60 billion now.
The first ever Apple logo was this image right here. The naming of the company was just as bizarre as its origin. Steve Jobs genuinely believed that fruits and vegetables were the key to good health and was on sort of a fruitarian diet, and he just really liked the apple, and so Apple Inc. was born. Let's find out how this backyard garage startup named after a fruit became the most successful tech company in the world that makes $125 million a day. Apple Inc. launched the Apple I on the 11th of April 1976. The company was in fact so short of funds that Jobs had to sell his car and Wozniak his scientific calculator to fund the manufacturing of the Apple I. It was a computer which came pre-assembled but shipped with no keyboard or case, but had finally compressed roughly the same power of the ENIAC into a board around the size of a standard briefcase. Apple gained just enough sales to begin building the Apple II in 1977. Unlike its predecessor, it came with a built-in case, a keyboard, dedicated display, and floppy disk drives. This was the computer that put Apple on the market. Along with the computer, Apple also changed its logo to a rainbow-colored logo to signify that the Apple II could display content in color. It sold around 6 million units. Unfortunately, Apple's next computer, the Apple III, took a huge L. In the quest for a quiet PC, the Apple III was made with no air vents and fans, which caused every unit sold to overheat. It was the only tech product in the world to have a 100% failure rate in the first batch. This setback was short-lived. On January 24, 1984, Apple released the computer that changed the way people look at computers. Steve Jobs unveiled the Macintosh. It was one of the first computers to be shipped with a mouse, hence its keyboard had no arrow keys. Most of the common softwares had needed to be reworked as the computer used Apple GUI, a predecessor to macOS. It was described as the computer for the rest of us and sold a whopping 18 million units. In 1985, Apple faced a setback. Steve Jobs was locked in a feud with fellow board member John Sculley. The whole board backed John Sculley and Steve Jobs was ousted from his own company.
That's a lot of damage!
In the same year, Steve Wozniak also left the company along with a few other members of the original Macintosh team. Steve Jobs went on to form a company called Next and also bought Pixar from George Lucas. In the meanwhile, Apple in 1987, now without Jobs or Wozniak, released the Macintosh 2. They also tried their hand at a portable Macintosh that failed miserably. The Apple Macintosh computers were not improving either in performance or portability. The Apple GUI was also getting strong competition from the Windows UI. Apple also began overproducing devices and sales declined drastically in this phase.
In 1997, Apple came back to Steve and bought Next, essentially buying Steve Jobs back into the company. The crippled company was returned to its founding father. Did you know Apple was actually given $150 million by Microsoft to aid in its revival? This was the moment for the resurrection of Apple.
In 1998, Apple released Revolution, the iMac. It was made to stand out from its competition. It introduced USB ports and a new version of Apple GUI, which made it easy to use and connect to the internet. 1999 saw Apple releasing its first ever consumer laptop, the iBook. It was made in all the trendy colors and was marketed to be portable, even including a dedicated handle. In 2001, of course, the iPhone wasn't a thing yet, and many people had a whole shelf full of devices. That year, Steve Jobs introduced the Digital Hub strategy, a cohesive plan to take all those devices and make them more useful through the power of software. Here's how Jobs introduced his plan. Quote, "We are living in a new digital lifestyle with an explosion of digital devices. It's huge, and we believe the PC, or more importantly, the Mac, can become the digital hub for a new emerging digital lifestyle, with the ability to add tremendous value to these other digital devices." 2001 also saw the release of Mac OS X, though an upgrade, yet it was still not up to the mark of Windows. In the same year, Steve Jobs introduced the iPod. It was the first MP3 player of its kind, and Steve Jobs presented it uniquely as, quote, 1,000 songs in your pocket. It was the first device in Apple's digital hub strategy. It began the era of iTunes. Over the next 5 years, Apple established a consumer line and a professional line, focusing on user-centric software and optimized hardware. 2003 saw the release of the iBook G4, but it was only in 2006 that the MacBook name was given to Apple's line of laptops. This brought great success to the laptop line. The first ever MacBook Pro was introduced in 2006 with a better processor, more RAM, and more storage. 2007 was the year for Apple to shine. They had made one of the most important breakthroughs in the tech world. Apple had created a high-end mobility device, a phone like no one had ever imagined a phone to be. On the 29th of June 2007, Steve Jobs unveiled the iPhone 2G. It was one of the first usable and user-friendly touchscreen mobile phones. Actually, after the event, Steve Jobs examined the phone, noticing the scratches on its screen. He immediately ordered the whole lineup to be changed with glass screens. This gave birth to Corning Gorilla Glass on iPhones. The iPods also got new models in the form of the iPod Nano and the iPod Touch. This set the tone for all products and software that would follow in the years to come. What followed was a spectacular growth of the Apple product line and their ability to set standards in form, function, and user experience. All of Apple's product lines follow a very cohesive design philosophy, and that is what makes them path-breaking and market makers. Let's take a moment to look at what makes Apple Apple, the most valuable brand in the world. Passionate to the point of obsessive about design, Steve Jobs insisted that his computers look perfect inside and out. Jobs said, "I love it when you can bring really great design and simple capability to something that doesn't cost much." It was the original vision for Apple. That's what we tried with the first Mac. That's what we did with the iPod. Distinctive design, clean, friendly, and fun became the hallmark for all Apple products under Jobs. Jobs' love of simplicity in design was honed when he became a practitioner of Buddhism. After dropping out of college, he made a long pilgrimage through India seeking enlightenment, but it was mainly the Japanese path of Zen Buddhism that stirred his sensibilities. Pushing the horizons in a relentless manner, Apple released the iPhone 3G in 2008 and also introduced the world to the App Store. Although very basic, for the first time, it gave access to an ever-growing app ecosystem, an environment that enabled third-party developers to develop software and utilities to be pushed in an Apple device spectrum. The iPhone 3GS was released in 2009. It introduced video recording and also integrated voice control to the iPhone. Pushing the heels once again in 2010, the iPhone 4 came, which was a big leap in performance and design. Along with churning out iPhones every year, Apple introduced the iPad. It was a tablet with a large touchscreen display, a bridge between the computing power of a Mac and the iPhone. It was in 2011 that the iPhone 4S was introduced, where Apple brought Siri to the iPhone. People got a glimpse of their first ever digital personal assistant on their phone. The S in 4S actually represents Siri. Not sure if you know, that Siri was originally going to be a standalone application on the App Store and was also to come to BlackBerry and Android. But Apple intercepted the brand and built it exclusively into their devices. 2011 saw the release of the iPad 2, lighter, thinner, and more powerful. Unfortunately, 2011 was not all about great releases, but brought one of the biggest tragedies for Apple. Steve Jobs, who had been diagnosed with pancreatic cancer in 2003, reached his final stage in 2011. Tim Cook had offered to donate part of his liver to aid in the recovery of Jobs, but Jobs declined the offer. Steve Jobs fell terminally ill and passed away on October 5th, 2011. Jobs had relinquished his position as CEO of Apple to Tim Cook in August of the same year.
That did not slow down Apple, it just made them stronger. It gave them a new purpose and determination to live up to Steve Jobs' standards. They renamed their keynote arena as the Steve Jobs Theatre, and that is where I am standing now.
It is now a good point to pause for a moment and reflect on what Apple Inc. always intended to be, what they wanted to be known for. This is reflected in their mission statement. Quote, to bring the best personal computing products and support the students, educators, designers, scientists, engineers, business persons, and consumers in over 140 countries around the world. And that is exactly what Steve Jobs set out and established, and Tim Cook and the Apple design team carried out in the years to come. Ever wondered how Apple delivered products that we always found so enriching, thoughtfully designed and packed features that we did not realize we needed, but when delivered, found them extremely useful? Basically, one curve ahead. This comes in form of the vision statement at Apple Inc. Quote, to make the best products on earth and to leave the world better than we found it. Let us take a quick look at the great products Apple continued to apply their mission, vision, and design philosophy to, and have been delivering market-making products ever since. In 2012, with the iPhone 5, they cut weight by 80%. They made it thinner and simplified the charging connector. This was followed by the iPad 4 that came later the same year. A smaller sibling to the iPad mini was also introduced. We saw a thinner, lighter MacBook Pro, which now did away with the CD drive. It was also the first MacBook to release with that awesome Retina display that set standards for how a display should look and feel. The iPhone 5S that was released in 2013 and once again brought an absolutely unknown but essential feature to iPhones. Biometric authentication in the form of Touch ID was built in it to help improve security. The iPad range also got an upgrade. iPad Air 1 was released, which was thinner, lighter, and was also equipped with dual processors. The same upgrades were seen in the mini series in the form of iPad mini 2. Making way to the iPhone 6 and 6 Plus of 2014. These were the thinnest iPhones ever, but there is a cost to being thin, and that unfortunately came in form of durability. These thinner iPhones displayed a tendency to bend and deform permanently because of the use of lighter 6000 series aluminium. This Bendgate fiasco from 2014 initiated Apple's use of newer 7000 series aluminium, which was harder and more durable. In 2015, among newer models of iPhone 6s and 6s Plus and iPads, Apple took mobile computing to the next notch. The iPad Pro was released, taking the computing power and usability of iPads to a new paradigm. The MacBook also got an upgrade, including complete USB-C support, and this significantly reduced the size. To expand Apple's digital hub strategy, the Apple Watch 1 was released. 2016 came with the launch of the iPhone 7 and 7 Plus. This brought a glossy finish to the back of the iPhones. The 7 Plus had a dual camera configuration. This was a big leap in terms of mobile photography, and a whole new segment of mobile photographers and videographers was born. We also saw the MacBook Pro get a huge upgrade in form of the Touch Bar, which has become a staple for all MacBook Pro lines to come. The Touch Bar was an amazing replacement to the function keys and media controls. The Apple Watch Series 2 was also introduced. Alongside this, Apple also released the same watches in collaboration with Hermes and Nike. Expanding their accessory domain, Apple launched its first ever truly wireless earphones this year, the AirPods. 2017 saw the iPhone 8 and 8 Plus with minimal upgrades. Nothing much to write home about except they started supporting Qi wireless charging. But then Apple had a quirky idea. Towards the end of their event, they displayed on their keynote one more thing. For this event, their big surprise was the newest and latest iPhone X. This phone came as a design revolution. The so well known and accepted home button was now gone, which caused many iPhone users to have to relearn how to actually use the iPhone. But this gave us more of that lovely high-res display to use. In fact, biometric authentication was switched from Touch ID to now 3D facial scanning in form of Face ID. 2018, 19 and now 20. Every year has seen more innovation, more understanding of the future user needs. We saw the new and swanky iPhone 12 and 12 Pro lines in multiple sizes and colors. The fastest and lightest iPads and MacBooks, and for the first time ever, over-ear headphones known as the AirPods Max. We heard that Apple was keeping true to its market maker nature in working to bring us an awesome experience in augmented and virtual reality spaces. It is also rumored that Apple is working to impact the future of work as the world around us changes, and maybe we will ride an autonomous Apple car in the near future. Steve Jobs, in his own words, said, "My passion is to build an enduring company where people were motivated to make great products. Everything else was secondary. Some people say, give the customers what they want, but that's not my approach. Our job is to figure out what they want before they do. People don't know what they want until you show it to them. Our task is to read things that are not yet on our page. As they say, our founding principles are what defines our future and our impact on others around us."
That is exactly why Apple has been and will remain to be the most valuable company in the world, because its principles are deeply embedded in everything they undertake to do. Well, if you enjoyed the video, a like and subscribe will be deeply appreciated. That being said, my name is Vedant, this is Demystifying History, and I'll catch you in the next one.